Good evening, everybody. You're very welcome along to the WP Sports and GT round here at Le Mans. It's the final round of the championship, and we're rounding out at the most iconic motorsport circuit. It is Le Mans in France. Everybody knows Le Mans. Everybody loves the endurance events around here, and especially GT cars around this particular one. My name is Jack Canal. Alongside me, Sam Fitzpatrick, Simon Lakuma, working on the cameras. Sam, it is a fantastic circuit. Everyone loves Le Mans, and it usually puts on a hell of a show.
Yeah, lots of slipstreaming around this place. We got the Mulsanne Straits and also pretty much everywhere. You got the run outside out of Mulsanne Corner as well into Indianapolis where you can pick up a draft. So lots of draft trains. You can afford to be quite a bit slow around this circuit and still get by. However, I'm not sure about you, Jack, but I find this circuit so tricky. It's got to run mega low wing. You'll see the rear wings around this circuit really skinny, and through the Porsche curves where you need a little bit of downforce, it can be so easy to spin off and hit the wall. So one of the biggest challenges for these drivers, and I think whoever wins out today will have a lot of pride on their side.
It's not a nice day in France today, 20 degrees ambient temperature, and a nice day to be out watching this event if people were watching this within the virtual world. But yes, it is a 13-kilometer circuit. This Le Mans circuit is a very long circuit. Is even though it has nothing on the Nordschleife, the Nordschleife is even longer than this particular circuit. But a 4-minute lap here in the GT3 cars, which is a long time, but you're at full pace. And of course, we all know the famous Mulsanne Straight with the chicanes right in the middle of it. Back on the old historic circuit, there wasn't any chicanes in there. You just joined the motorway and flat out all the way down to Mulsanne Corner, which is quite something if you've ever tried it in an old classic Le Mans car. But here we are. This is Julian Familiaris, who we are looking at right now. He was did pretty well last time. He did set fastest time in practice last time out when we raced in Okayama, but the race did not go his way. Kevin Gimenez coming out with the win right there. All these guys are professional drivers. A lot of them would be professional drivers in the South Africa Championship, which is based down the Killarney Motorsports Park in South Africa, in Cape Town. So that's why there's a very high contingent of South Africans here with us today. But Killarney Motorsport Park, you'll probably be quite familiar with it if you watch World Rallycross. Of course, plenty of title starters coming down right there. We're on board with Familiaris right now, sector number 1, which is the tight and twisty part. And then Sam, you can kind of just chill out a little bit now. You turn through this corner right here, and you can just kind of relax a little bit because it's the Mulsanne Straight.
Yeah, and this is where the slipstream effects will really kick in. You've got to think about though when you're going to brake for the next corner. This is such a fantastic endurance track day. Maybe it's not the best for sprint because there's not a whole lot the driver can do for much of it, but you can have a race where you're just chipping down at a 1-minute lead for hours and hours and hours, and it's quite a comfortable endurance race to run if you're racing at Bathurst or Nordschleife. It's so intense. Around this place you can afford to be a little bit more relaxed, although you need to be careful of some traffic. Not so much of a worry with this single class race tonight. But Familiaris at the moment just heading down this second Mulsanne Straight. The BMW, we don't expect that to necessarily be the best car around this circuit. You can see the manufacturers on the left side of your screen. Plenty of BMWs, plenty of Mercedes as well, and a couple of McLarens as well. McLaren should be strong, and perhaps the Ferrari as well. I think the Ferrari is usually pretty strong down the straights. So I'm not quite sure if this BMW is the car to be in, but there's not a whole lot of a difference between all the GT3 cars or all the GTE cars either. iRacing do a decent job at keeping them relatively evenly matched. And so certainly Julian is still going to have a decent chance. Darren Love, a driver who we've seen plenty of in the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship on a Sunday morning. Certainly check that out on the iRacing Esports Network or on Apex Racing TV. Won Montreal, I believe, last season. And of course it does put an Australian flag by his name. I think he's situated now in Australia, but maybe he's from South Africa. I'm not quite sure, or maybe it's the other way around. Not quite sure, but he is certainly South African or has ties to that nation. He does actually run a South African flag in that championship. He is certainly very much part of them. But it's quite nice for us, Jack. That South Africa is where it's located, because It's quite a nice time zone for us. It's like 1 hour out or something, pretty much with the rest of Europe, and it's quite a nice time for us to be broadcasting this. And you can see Pina as well, who may be situated in the UK, also being able to take part in today's race.
Yeah, perfect time zone for us. I was admiring the speed of the Z4 down the straight, touching 277 kilometers an hour. Convert that to Imperial, that's 173 miles an hour in a GT3 car. That's fast, very very fast, especially in the GT3 car. But the brakes are not necessarily the best in the world compared to the single seaters. But this is Willem Pijnaar in the Ferrari, one of the few Ferraris out on track today. Of course, back in Okayama, you had there's now the speeds and Stephen McCarthy, 295 kilometers an hour. That's approaching 180 miles an hour in a GT3 car. I'm not sure you might. I don't know if you actually see that in real life, but they've got this geared perfect. Sean McCarthy in the GT3 Mercedes, nearly touching 180 miles an hour. I mean, that's in a GT3 car, Sam. That's warp speed right there.
Absolutely is. I wonder if you could break the 300-kilometer barrier. I think if you put some effort into it, maybe trim out the rest of the rear wing, then you could probably just about reach that. I'm not sure if that's with a draft either, because they've been going for 24 minutes. You can see in the top left, and maybe they haven't necessarily got that perfect draft. Maybe on lap 1 we could see a few drivers reach that 300-kilometer mark. So no, will be very fast speeds for these drivers, and going into Mulsanne corner in particular, really tricky because you have the fast right and then into the very tight right straight afterwards, and often in endurance racing it's kind of just a case of getting the car through. You're preparing for it, and it can go so wrong for you with the barrier relatively nearby, that you can't just brake a little bit early, just get the car through and then accelerate again. In the sprint race, they're going to have to get everything out of it, so you could see some moves perhaps into Mulsanne corner. That would certainly be a brave attempt. Here is Fowry in 4th place. He is probably going to be approaching the Mulsanne corner pretty soon in that South African car, and he is currently just beyond the 4-minute mark, 4-minute dead, 0.03, 3 seconds off the fastest time in the session. And you executed that pretty nicely as well. Of course, we've got to watch out for slowdowns as well around this. Like, not too much of an issue with off tracks, but yeah, slowdowns are going to be a massive problem. This track extending, I'm not sure if you've done the 24 Hours of Le Mans track before, but it should be a very fun event. But I get driven absolutely mad by getting a slowdown every other lap.
Yeah, haven't quite dipped my foot into the 24 Hours in Le Mans yet. Obviously, plan to do so, but I have heard the stories of just getting so frustrated with the off tracks here. But currently, Lob ahead of Familiaris by just 0.6 of a second. About 13 kilometers, 0.6 of a second. That's virtually nothing. And 2.6 back to Gerber, and then Furry just outside the 4-minute mark, as you said. So obviously, everyone wants to break the 4-minute barrier. So plenty to come just yet. Now he's approaching different series of corners. Here is one of the McLarens. We haven't seen too many McLarens out. That's Scois Joubert in the McLaren as he heads down the first part of the Mulsanne straight. Throws it in right there. Gets it all hooked up nicely. Currently 9 seconds off. It's probably not a representative lap time. Gets it a little bit wrong. Spins it around in the first part of the Mulsanne chicane. And we saw plenty of spins in Okayama in the slow hairpins. And I think at the slow corners again are going to be the problem, Sam, because they've trimmed all the downforce out of these cars.
Yeah, that one you just have such like lazy spins. I always find you kind of just over-rotate the car, and before you know it, it's gone. And of course, as you were saying earlier on, you relax down the straight, and then you just feel like a bit of a moron when you slow down for what looks like a pretty simple corner. You lose the rear end, and you have to get underway. You lose lots of time. And no, that's not the best feeling in the world whatsoever. And of course, you're not running a whole lot of as I say, not a whole lot of downforce in these cars, and you're not generating a whole lot of downforce through those corners. At least with the Porsche, because you're really loading on the tyres, you're generating plenty of aerodynamic downforce. But through those chicanes, much slower, and yeah, much more easy to tilt the car around. As there goes Kolber, just demonstrates my point from a couple of minutes ago, going in too deep. Fortunately for him, just ends up in the gravel. These cars are running the new tyre model, remember. or newish time model. It's been around for about a year now on the Skippy, I believe. But you do risk when you go off there, if you're going at a decent speed, then you can just slide straight into the ground. Very tricky to control these cars off the on the grass and on the gravel nowadays.
Here's Ryan Van Eden. He's heading down towards Indianapolis. This is a scary corner in these cars. Almost flat heading into Indianapolis. Gets it hooked up together. Very easy to run wide into that gravel on the exit of that corner there as they head through the last couple of minutes. 33 corners on this track here in Le Mans. But yeah, interesting stuff through Arnage and down towards the Porsche cars we were just talking about, which is a great little sequence if you manage to get a line through it. It's horrible if you understeer straight through. On board now with Van Eden as he heads down towards the Porsche curves, heading in just over 250 k's, touching 260 as he gets on the brakes for it down to fourth gear, getting a little bit out of shape on the way in, but manages to put it together. Now keeping it in fourth, revving at fourth gear up to fifth again, chucking it in through the left and then back through the right, and keeping it together so far. Nice and neat so far. Careful not to run out wide right here. That's the problem corner for many with the off tracks. And then down towards the Ford chicane, which is the final corner in Le Mans. But as he heads through, we'll just see if he's going to be able to improve. He's a long way down at the moment, but now a little bit deep into the first part, into the last chicane. Hopping over the curb, mind the sausage curve there, onto the power curve, not to run out too wide. And across the line. Does he manage to pop up even further? See if he's able to do that. I don't think he is. No, he actually drops the position and somebody else improves. But yeah, so far, I'm just looking at Ryan. So he looks to be using very little steering input, and if the steering input looks a little bit jagged from my end anyway.
Yeah, that certainly could be the case for Ryan. Currently situated in 22nd place. And yeah, that's probably not what you want around this circuit. Negotiates the first couple of corners so pretty nicely. Very easy to run into the barrier as well, just through that chicane. And then this is one of the big slowdown spots. Kept all fuel wheels on the circuit though. And then back on his way down the straight. We've got 10 more minutes of practice to go, and then of course we're going to have a 15-minute qualifying session. The drivers are allowed to set 2 laps during that qualifying session, so that's pretty much as many laps as you can set. I think they'll start their out lap they'll start their out lap on the coming out of the Porsche curves, I believe, and then we'll set 2 lap times without a break in between. There will be 2 consecutive lap times, you'd assume, unless they want to run very little fuel and just go for the 1 lap, but that would be a bit unnecessarily risky. And then we'll jump into the race, which will be an hour long. I'm just trying to see if there's a fuel limit for the race. I don't think there is. Not that I can see that there is a fuel limit. And so, it's going to be pretty close, Jack, whether or not they can get to the end of the race. These cars normally go just beyond the hour, but around a high fuel consumption circuit like this, they might struggle to. So I wonder if we might see a split in strategy between the one-stoppers and the no-stoppers.
Yeah, we might see that. Definitely, fuel was certainly not a problem in Okayama, but certainly is going to be one here with the constantly up on the rev limiter down the Mulsanne straight. You're using a lot of fuel down there, so possibly towards the end we're going to see plenty of drivers lifting and coasting through there. As here's Len Gerber in the number 98 Z4 GT3 heading down the second part of the Mulsanne towards Mulsanne corner, and getting towards the end practice right now. Practice going on a little bit longer than what we had anticipated, but as they come through Mulsanne corner, got to make sure to get the braking right there. It's very easy to go straight off into that gravel on the outside. He manages to get it together, and now down towards Indianapolis is this next part. So plenty of slipstreaming to be done around this part of the circuit, around the Mulsanne straight. This whole circuit is nearly slipstream, and this race is only going to be an hour, but plenty of drivers probably would have done this in the virtual 24 hours Le Mans, which is a hell of a challenge to get round alive in one piece. But Keegan Campos, P4, now 3:59.0. Nobody coming close at the moment to our top man. which is a 356.7, which is which is what we've seen the best time so far. So nobody getting close at the moment, and we'll see if they're going to be able to get any closer in qualifying, because they've had 40 minutes to get these times in, but qualifying you only have 2 attempts to get it, which is going to make things a lot harder for him as they come now. Watch with Jonty Weiss, who did a decent job last time in Okayama. He just managed to get past a McLaren that's sitting in the middle of the road in the background, thankfully out of the way, out of the racing line. But Jonty Weiss had a bit of a coming together. Actually had a spin in Okayama, had to fight back into the top 5 and dropping back outside the top 30, qualified P4, and hopping over the curbs and crossing the line. Let's see if he's going to be able to go higher than 15. I'm sure he's got the pace to do so, but he comes across the line. Jonty Weiss pops up into the top 10, 401.4, but there's a very large gap from first and second back to third, Sam, and around here 3 seconds is quite a large time gap.
Yeah, there is a decent gap at the moment between the drivers, and this might be a better pace.
Oh God,
that was just a bit of miscommunication. And get yourself a new spine, because that one's broken, I think, for Weiss there. Yes, this practice session, so it might be a better representation of the driver's pace than the qualifying session. As you say, only 2 laps to be set in qualifying, and with a tricky off-track circuit like this, where you've got lots of tarmac runoffs, very easy to track extend. The drivers might just mess up one of their time. I think that's off the circuit for Botha, for example. That might well be a 1x for him on that occasion, or maybe a slowdown. But yeah, so this practice session might be our best indicator of who's got the best race pace, and for Lob, that's going to be a little bit of a worry for him. I have a pace advantage at the moment over the rest of the order by about half a second, as Botha's now in the wall. But that can quickly go down when you make a mistake on your first lap, puts pressure on your second lap, so he's going to have to be thinking about that one. Boosty seems to have randomly run out of fuel halfway down the Mulsanne straight. That'd be a long way back normally. That would be yeah, that would be a few hours to get the car back from that position, a few miles away. But fortunately, they can just press a button, and he's probably already out on the circuit once again. Teening's now approaching the Porsche cars. I wonder if we get the weather actually up on screen. See what time of day it is. There you go, 21 degrees track temperature, but it is quite early in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. It should get a bit warmer. Maybe by the end of the race it could be up to mid-20s. I think it's going to be reaching the 30 mark. May the 15th, iRacing Day, default iRacing Day. So yeah, probably going to be getting to yeah, the mid to high 20s by the end of the event. That will, of course, decrease the amounts of grip that the drivers have, and might also decrease the fuel consumption as well, as you're going to have a bit less grip, going to be on the power less often. Your cornering speeds are going to be lowered, and so that might help them out if they are bidding to go for a one-stop race. Andrew Thomas now heading into the first Mulsanne chicane.
Yeah, in the bright yellow Ferrari as he heads through the first part of the Mulsanne straight. And we're just looking at Robbie Tings as he headed into actually possibly one of the trickiest parts of the circuit. The pit lane entry here at Le Mans is very easy to get wrong if you're not paying attention. You want to carry a lot of speed in there, but there's a chicane right in the middle of a very inconvenient chicane that's not marked and you can't see it really, which is very easy to run off and get a silly off track right there. But Andrew Thomas at 26th place. It's a little bit deep into the second Mulsanne chicane. Onto the exit now. Under 4 minutes to go. Coming up on 3 minutes to go in practice. Currently nobody getting close to the top man at the moment. Familiaris is the closest man on track, and so he's 6/10, 356.7. Familiaris 6/10 behind. Swart a little bit closer, 1.9. Mitchell, and then Campos, Gerber, Furi, Coetzee, Botha, and Busi. A very a great turnout, I must say. Over 30 cars here at Le Mans, which always provides give us something to definitely give us something to watch in this 1 hour race that's coming up after the 15-minute qualifying session. And now he heads down towards the Indianapolis again. Now, Kevin Gimenez, P9, pops in there right now. He was the winner last time out in Okayama, and was particularly happy to be involved in here because it's obviously a grid of mostly professional drivers, and this man is a pure sim racer, which is always nice to see. And he absolutely smashed the real life drivers, to put it mildly, which is I think it's always something that we enjoy sometimes watching, is that the professional drivers going up against the sim racers, and the sim racers absolutely smashing it out of the park.
Yeah, kind of proves that I could be on the F1 grid if I was given the chance. Toto, if you're listening. No, but we know that there's very much. It's a difficult one because I remember when Formula E had their sim racers versus Formula E drivers events, which Apex Racing Team, or Apex Racing UK as it was back then, were involved in. I think Alex Simpson managed to go to Vegas for that one, and it just happened to be there at the same time. No, I joke. But he was able to head over that, and fans were a bit unsure of what you want. You can't want the Formula E drivers to beat the sim racing drivers. So you can say that the sim racing is basically like real life, because if the sim racers are dominating against the real life guys, then there doesn't seem to be much of a correlation between real life and the simulator. But at the same time, you kind of want the sim drivers to do extremely well, because you want them to show that they're just as talented as the real life drivers. But we've seen, of course, we've seen, of course, in the past that Lando Norris and Max Verstappen have won the Spa 24 Hours. We've seen Mitchell de Jong do very well in the World Championship Grand Prix series and the Rallycross series, and plenty of other real life drivers. Nicky Teen comes to mind as well. Shane Van Gisbergen from the Supercars Championship in Australia. So no, it is quite related, but yes, Jimenez will feel quite happy about that one, and give himself and give that like a chance in a real life car. See how it would happen. See how it would work in a real life car in comparison. See how close he could get.
Check flag comes out on practice as we have 0.6 of a second between the top two. Now qualifying, 15 minutes involved in this one, 2 laps, and they should start from the Porsche curves rather than the pit lane, which would make this an even longer qualifying session. You'd want to get out on track immediately if that was the case, because 4-minute laps, 3 laps around here, it's going to take up a chunk of qualifying, as we're now waiting for drivers to head out onto the track. But this is the final round of the WP Sports and GT round at Le Mans. We've only covered one round of the championship before this, so we have, put it mildly, absolutely no idea what's going on in the championship. So we'll figure it out as we go, which is always good when you're trying to do that live. But no worries. So it looks like guys spawning at the Porsche curve. So yeah, that makes things easier, gives them a little bit more time. So Botha, one of the first drivers to head out in the Audi. Not a lot of Audis on the circuit. It's surprisingly enough, a lot of drivers opting for the Z4 as Botha gets it wrong immediately. Big one into turn 1, and pretty much that's qualifying done for him now, Sam.
Well, he'll tow back, and then he'll be that will be his first lap, and now he's got a second lap, however. So it's not quite the end of it. Very fortunately, although I think that's just the cold tires, and that's part of the issue with starting just before the Porsche curves. You don't have any time to warm the tires, although I believe the tires do warm up a little bit easier now, since the couple of tweaks that they've made to the tire model in recent months. So Should be all right for them, but that turn one all the corners around this place are tricky with the little drag that they're running on the rear wing. It's very tricky for the Jazz to control the cars. On the YouTube chat, thank you to Shadow Hayes, asking what is the yellow circle near the braking lights on the Ferrari? Is it the pneumatic jack support? Jack, I'll leave that one to you.
Thanks, because I don't have a clue. The
Oh,
little yellow circle. I could try and say what it is, but I actually don't know. I can see the circle right there, but I would only assume that it's some kind of air vents thing. I'm not very technically minded, so
sorry, I
I'm
didn't
gonna
realise that Adrian New was in the commentary box for a moment there.
exhaust vent thing. Adrian Newey. There we go. Down the back straight. The blown diffuser. I think that's how he made it. But no, I'm not too familiar with that. I would have to check that. But interesting little detail that you noticed, because we sure as hell didn't notice that little yellow circle by the brake light. But he's currently on a lap now, is Andrew Thomas. So we'll let him get on his way, and hopefully we'll be able to figure that out during the course of the broadcast. But short answer, not a clue.
Yeah, no idea. Unfortunately, I still haven't seen it. Oh, I think I see it. Yeah, but it's only on one side, isn't it? It's on both sides. That is odd. Thanks for pointing that one out, Shadow Haze. Any more questions? We'll try to answer them. If in case you didn't know, I have no idea what that is. But yeah, the driver's coming to the end of their lap. Pretty much, I think Byron Mitchell is as far round as anyone. Yeah, he's 0.78 of the lap complete. Only about a fifth to go, but this is where pretty much half the time can be gained through the Porsche curves and then the Ford chicanes as well. Very contrary corners to one another. Very high speed here, and that's a nice line there for Byron Mitchell. Got to push it to the limit, but at the same time, there's really only one line that he can possibly take. Maybe this last one, you can maybe go a little bit wider and then tight, or maybe you can go tight and wide. A little bit like Luffield at Silverstone, and then making sure you don't pick up a 1x on the outside. Then just straight line the final couple of chicanes. So much time can be gained by taking a bit more first curb here. But Mitchell, for his first lap, I think just leaving a little bit on the table, making sure he doesn't pick up 1x. And that was all quite nice for him. No purple sectors, it looks like, but Byron Mitchell will cross the line here. He will go to provisional pole positions. Stop the qualifying session here. It was a good lap to there, just over the 4-minute barrier. That would be, I think, top 10 based on the practice time. Says Familiaris just goes to the top of the standings, 9/10 of a second clear.
I definitely just haven't Googled yellow circle near Ferrari GT3 light. And I still can't figure out what it is. There's some kind of wiring going through it, but that's the best I can do. So it remains unanswered for now, a mystery to do that. But yeah, Familiaris 359.3, Mitchell P2 just behind, so we're still looking for times. Darren Lobb, now we're going to see what he's going to do, because he's crossing the line now, and he should pop into P1, 358.6 for him, but pretty close now. So you got another lap to do, as we've got it's going to tick to the end of qualifying now. When we come across the line next time, this we look at now. This is Darren Lobb, who is currently fastest on a 358.6. We've seen him dip into the 356s in practice. Purple sectors from Juri Swartz. As he comes across the line, he pops into P4, 1.3 off the pace, but pretty close for times at Le Mans. Now down the Mulsanne straight, really chucking it through there, and now all the way down to the two Mulsanne chicanes, approaching, figured it out earlier, 175 miles an hour on the straight in the GT3 car. But now they come down. A couple more times ticking in now. Leonardo Beccari, I think is going to be the next one to cross the line. But his time, I don't think, is going to trouble the top. It's in the 4 minutes already into the first part of the Mulsanne chicanes. And meanwhile, Darren Lobb currently on his second lap in the first Mulsanne chicane. And looking fast so far is this man. And I wonder, is anybody going to be able to top him? Familiaris looking pretty quick in the other BMW. But the BMWs, surprisingly enough, are looking very fast around here.
I don't know how much of that is the car and how much of that is the drivers. Well, maybe it is. Maybe the BMW is the car to go for. But yeah, it's doing very well at the moment. Is Lob and Familiaris. Familiaris on this second lap, by the way, taking a few purple sectors, but then Lob is just behind him on circuit and just then beats them. So I think Familiaris might go up into provisional pole at the end of this lap, because he's saying lots of all personal best sectors so far on this lap for Familiaris, but just struggling to really put in the purple sectors that aren't beaten by Darren Lob, who was 3 tenths faster in the first sector, matching in the second sector, about 2 tenths faster in the third sector, matching in the fourth sector. Not a personal best for Lob in the fourth sector, but Familiar still about half a second slower on this lap so far. But like I said, he should be able to beat Lob's provisional fastest lap. But I think Lob should be able to respond as long as he keeps it all on circuit. Nothing much to lose for the BMW from this point. Don't think anyone behind is going to be able to put up a big fight at the moment. No one set some particularly dangerous lap times. Dari Joubert might be able to move up the standings in a little bit. Also Jason Coetzee as well, who haven't set times so far, invalidated their first lap time, as Familiar just comes through the first Ford chicane and then the second. That didn't quite look as streamlined as he perhaps wanted. And Mitchell now puts himself up in second place. Can Familiar improve? He does go fastest by a big margin, but which is pretty much what we expected. But Lob is on a lap to beat him again as he heads into the last couple of corners.
Tell you what, watch for Kevin Gimenez. He's looking pretty quick with purple sectors in the middle. What's he done? 3:57. As he got even quicker, he pops into third, just behind Darren Lob, as he comes now to the last couple of chicanes. Let's see if this man can pop it on pole, using all of the road on the way and almost using the pit entry to chuck it in. And let's see, through the Ford chicane into the Corvette. Let's see what he's able to do now. Onto the power nice and early. Comes to the line. What's he able to do? He crossed the line. It should be pole for this man. It is 3:57.35. That is pole for Darren Lob. Not as big of a margin as we saw in practice that he had. He was into the 56s in practice, but a couple of tenths of Familiaris. Kevin Gimenez, really good job in P3. It makes it a BMW 1-2-3. Byron Mitchell. Now we wait for Kevin Snyman in the Mercedes. Here he comes. He's currently P5. Can he go one better? Can he beat Byron Mitchell? Comes across the line. Is he able to? We'll wait and see. I don't think he is going to be able to displace Byron Mitchell. He stays P5 for now. But a good job from Darren Lob in P1. Familiaris P2, and Kevin Gimenez, the winner last time, P3, and then the two Mercedes. And the sole McLaren in the top 10 is Swart at the moment, slotting it in there for the British outfit. Peter van der Spuy, we look at right now. P21 currently, he's on the back straight. Well, the second heading up towards the Porsche curves, I believe he's coming to now. So not long left in lap, 5 minutes of qualifying left. And looking interesting at the moment because Lob, Familiaris, Gimenez all pretty matched on pace. Got an hour to sort themselves out into first, second and third. As they come through the Porsche curves now, Van der Spuy. One of the real life roasters down in South Africa. Let's see what he's able to do in this Beamer. Careful not to run too wide. Definitely was a very conservative right there through that left-hander. Usually you run it all the way out. He's on personal bests. Not in the previous sector, down on his personal best at the moment. Now through the last couple of chicanes. Definitely measured approach from Spuy here. Here he comes to the last chicane now across the line. Can he get himself inside the top 20? Comes across the line. And does he pop up anywhere? Does he improve on 22nd? I don't think he has. But he stays 22nd. A couple of more to come across the line. And Gabriel Hendricks approaching the line shortly now as well, and then we'll get the guys to finish off qualifying for us. This is Gabriel Hendricks we're looking at right now, and he's heading towards the forward chicanes, last sector of the lap. There we go, using the pit entry a little bit there. We'll see what he's able to do now. Chucking it through the last couple of corners, hopping over the curbs, and onto the power nice and early, and across the line. Can he improve on his position? And it looks like he does, pop inside the top 10. Good job from him, but no one troubles Darren Lobb, P1, Familiaris P2, but the gap's certainly closer than we thought.
Yeah, only half a second in it, but then quite a big gap, wasn't it, to Jimenez. Jimenez didn't set a first lap time, I think. In fact, just looking... Wow, if that's the case, yeah. So first sector for Jimenez, he lost... maybe that's not represented. Anyway, what I'm saying, basically, it may or may not be true, but he lost 1.5 seconds at Jimenez in the first sector. That may have been the first sector after he set his lap time. But looking at it, you know, I think maybe he did just mess up the first sector, because he was maybe a 10th faster than Lobb in the second sector, 10th faster in the third sector, 10th faster in the fourth sector, matched him in the fifth sector, 2/10 faster in the sixth, and 2/10 slower in the seventh. So yeah, I think Jimenez pretty much lost pole just in the first sector. Must have made a mistake in the in the Dunlop chicane. So maybe there's a bit more pace in that car to come, and perhaps he's going to have the pace to take on those guys, even though the qualifying session didn't flatter him.
So, ticking to the end of qualifying now, still a couple of drivers still just yet to cross the line. Ryan Buda, he's coming to the line now. His time is not going to trouble the top. He comes across the line. Does he improve on 22nd spot? He does. He goes to 18th place, just ahead of Andrew Colbert. And now just waiting for Leonardo Beccari. And one more driver after that. That's Peter Scully we're waiting for in this race. Just two more drivers. Actually, yeah, two more drivers still yet to finish their laps. I think Pinar could be stopped on track because his lap time is registering 12 minutes, so he could be stopped somewhere out on the track right there. But Beccari now just waiting for him to finish his lap. I don't think it's going to be an improvement. He's down in every sector so far. What the yellow color denotes, it means they're down on their best. Green means personal best, and purple means best of everybody. If you're unfamiliar, so that's the little mini sectors that are able to track the lap times of the drivers here. So now coming to the line with a couple of seconds to spare, Leonardo Beccari. I don't think he's going to improve on his 21st spot. So here he comes, coming through it there, just a little it's out of shape on the way through there. And again, a little bit too deep, and on the power a little too early as well. And he comes to the line. Yeah, I'm not going to improve on his 21st place. So 10 seconds left of qualifying, and then we're heading into this 1 hour race here at Le Mans to finish out the WP Sports and GT Championship. And we'll see in the future if this championship is going to return to Apex Racing TV. I hope to see it back, because it was fantastic last time in Okayama. Hopefully it can be replicated this week here at Le Mans. Looking really good for these guys. Now they grid up, and of course a rolling start here in Le Mans. And interesting to see. Now here's the grid for this affair. Darren Lobb in P1, Julian Familiaris P2, then Kevin Jimenez, the winner last time in Okayama, P3, Byron Mitchell P4, Kevin Snyman in P5, Juri Swartz in P6, Jason Kutzi P7, Dario Bussi, Gabriel Hendricks and Len Gerber around at the top 10. Then in P11, Johan Furi, Sandro Beccari in P12. And then further down the order, Chase Herholtz, Jonty Weiss, and Jonty Weiss quite far down in comparison to last week. Robbie Tings in P15, Johan Engelbrecht, Stephen McCarthy, Ryan Buda, Andrew Colbert and Sean McCarthy as your top 20. Then Leonardo Beccari, Mike Verrier, Peter Spui in P23, Eugene Manuk in P24, Kyle Wiltshire, Willem Botha, Keegan Campos, who had plenty of spins last time in Okayama, Andrew Thomas, Willem Pinar, Charles Joubert, Cyril Ginsberg, Colin Plitt, Andre Steenkamp, Peter Joubert, then Skois Joubert, and Davy Joubert. That's a lot of Jouberts on the grid right there. I think that's 4 of them right there. So hopefully they don't come together. Elroy Weiss and Ryan Van Eden. 38 cars. That's a very large turnout here in Le Mans, and hopefully it didn't last week, but hopefully it doesn't end in chaos. 38 cars around Le Mans should be good fun.
Yeah, should be really good out there. I think there's plenty. Pretty much everyone out on circuit is going to have someone to race with, so we could have some 5-6 car battles throughout the event. Hopefully, the top guys all have a clean start. We sometimes see it at Le Mans. It's a tricky opening part of the track, and sometimes the leader can kind of just make a break straight away and break the slipstream, and then kind of dominate the rest of the race. Hopefully, the top 3 or 4 drivers, particularly the top 3. And maybe Mitchell as well, and perhaps a couple of others might be able to go with them, and they keep in a tight bunch for the whole hour. Hopefully we just see slipstream for the whole hour. That would be very good. And we're still not quite sure about the strategy, because we didn't, as Jack was saying earlier on, no pit stop back at Okayama. We don't believe there is a fuel limit for these drivers, so they might be able to get to the end, but they might not be able to get to the end, because this is a very high fuel consumption circuit. So we might see some pit stops, or we might see some drivers saving fuel in order to get to the end of the race. We always like to see a little bit of drama on Apex Racing TV. So yeah, should be a good one as they head towards the Porsche curves. Of course, this relatively short pace lap, and of course going to be tricky to get the heat in the tyres. You can see the drivers almost abandoning that the row system, and instead I think it may be Jason Coetzee, who's just in the middle of the track, warming up his tyres, and that could be an advantage when they go to green.
So coming through the Porsche curves now, an hour of racing ahead of us here in Le Mans to round out the championship. And Darren Lobb on pole position. Keegan Campos is already in the pit lane, so some issues for him there. But Julian Familiaris alongside Lobb, then Gimenez and Mitchell on row 2. And then Snyman, Swart, Coetzee, Bussy, and Hendricks top 10. So yeah, plenty of slipstreaming certainly to come here today. And looking good. Let's see if Darren Lobb can put on an exhibition like Gavin Gimenez did in Okayama. We'll wait and see as they head towards the Ford chicanes. Pace car is going to peel off to the right-hand side into the pit lane, and then Darren Lobb will control the pace as they head now towards the line. Looks like they're possibly going to do a single file start here by the looks of it, or Julian Familiaris is just not going to bother pulling up alongside. This an hour race is quite long. You don't want to have an accident already in turn 1 as they come towards the start finish, and the pace car peels off to the right hand side there, cutting across the track. And here we go. Definitely a single file start by the looks of it. Really slow, controlled from Darren Lobb, and I think he's already bolted. Here we go, green flag in the air for the final round of WP Sports and GT, and away goes Darren Lobb. Familiaris P2, and then Gimenez P4. Already got the jump on Byron Mitchell P4. Then it's Snyman, Swart, Coetzee, Bussy, Hendricks, and Gerber. Keegan Campos already out of this race, but Darren Lobb has already bolted. Familiaris slotting into P2, and Kevin Gimenez already starting to put some pressure on our leader. There is Kevin Snyman right behind Byron Mitchell. Didn't get the best getaway. You can see Swart right behind him in the McLaren, really starting to put some pressure already. So now we'll see the first slipstream trains of the day, but the top 3 already forming a group.
Smart from the organisers to make it a single file start for this race. We so often see double file starts at Le Mans in the 24 hours, for example, and it often goes wrong. But the single file avoided incidents. Very fortunately, very few changes at the moment amongst the top 23, all in the exact same order. However, Manok dropped down the order. Also, Campos and Joupin Pina still in the pit, as we might see a change for second place here. Jimenez onto the back of Familiaris, but just stays behind these 3 in a train. Byron Mitchell just losing touch of society, and also Johan Barry just gaining a place there on then Gerber. He's now got 2.3 seconds though to the next car, so he's got absolutely no draft down this next few straights, which is going to be a big problem. And look at the field spread as well. These guys in the latter 30s, or even in the early 30s, are still yet to reach the first milestone chicane.
So through goes Ryan Van Eden on one of the Jouberts and gets it done already. But yeah, the top 3 have already bolted out front, and looks like there's plenty of position swapping going on right here. Kevin Snyman swapping with Byron Mitchell, and look at this now, there's a big old train forming now as they swap positions down the Mulsanne. So now Mulsanne corner coming up. Looks like the McLaren of Swartz is going to be in the best position to make a move here as he pings in and out of existence down the straight here. As now thinks about a move to the inside line, but backs out of it as they come towards the Mulsanne corner. It's a very tricky place to make an overtake. Mitchell has to defend a little bit as a little late lunge from Swartz up the inside. Gets it done, nicely done from the McLaren, and now Coetzee's going to take full advantage now on the inside and will turn to the outside for Indianapolis, and he needs to get it done pretty quickly. There's Jason Coetzee here as they go side by side. McLaren now giving him the slipstream as they head towards Indianapolis. Up front, you can kind of just see Kevin Gimenez on Familiaris as well as they come through towards Indianapolis, side by side already on lap number 1. It's getting pretty feisty already. McLaren gets through. You can see Busse trying to get himself involved as well. Now Byron Mitchell around the outside for Indianapolis, gets it stopped on the inside, but now around the outside of Indianapolis, and lovely stuff down towards Arnage. Still neck and neck here between Mitchell and Coetzee, and up the inside Jason Coetzee eventually gets done. Dario Busse also goes through in him, but a nice bit of side by side. So they're a tricky place to make it work, but they made it work.
Yeah, that was good driving from the guys right there. But it's really tricky with the McLaren glitching in and out of Kewan Snyman, or was it Swartz? No, it's Snyman, I think. He's glitching in and out at the moment. Apologies for this one. He's glitching in and out, and that was so tricky down into the Mulsanne corner when drivers just had to really get onto the brakes, weren't aware of where he was, and I wonder if the stewards may have to just intervene on that one. But whilst he's not fighting with anyone, it's not too bad. Now he is onto the back of Snyman. And this is much more impressive right now from Swartz. He's already gained 1 place, and it looks to say it's only a matter of time until he gains this next place. They've now got 3 seconds up to the 3 leaders. And actually down Lopes being able to make a bit of a break for it. He was looking under big pressure down the Mulsanne straights. But managed to pull out a 1.5 second lead since then. And here comes Jimenez down the inside. Didn't happen into 1. The inside into 1 often is a disadvantage. You want the outside into 1, and then he drops a long way back. Oh, he's got to slow down as Jimenez. Oh, this is painful to watch at the moment. Where would he have picked that one up? Must have been at the chicane, I guess. Oh, and he's still slowing down. On the first lap, it's absolutely crippling. Is that slowdown, and well, we're going to see that a few more times. But Jimenez there has lost 6 seconds. Just with that one slowdown, that is really disappointing for him.
6 seconds and 3 positions for Kevin Gimenez. As we now look at this battle, Dario Busse leading Byron Mitchell. This is on board with Gabriel Hendricks as they head down towards the first part of the Mulsanne. You can see Byron Mitchell thinking to try for a move on Dario Busse, and you'll see the slipstream that Hendricks will get now, topping out in 6th gear, banging off the rev limiter in the Mercedes, moves to the inside as Byron Mitchell goes for the move and should get it stopped. But look at the draft he's getting. He's going to have to back out of there. He has to lift off as they head towards the braking zone. Byron Mitchell slots ahead, and now Gabriel Hendricks going to try and slip one up the inside, but not going to be able to do that there. As now you can see Johan Furey right behind as well in the other Mercedes. It's a Mercedes train on here, and Johan Furey's got the run on him as they exit through the first Mulsanne chicane side by side towards the second Mulsanne chicane. And Johan Furey going to slot in front of Gabriel Hendricks. Made that easy. And you can see just how if you get it a little bit wrong on the exit of a chicane, it's not going to end well for you. And Swartz gets it done on Snyman. I don't think that Snyman actually knows where he is on track, because he's pinging in and out of existence. As you can see right there, that's the one downside versus real life and sim racing. If you have bad internet, it's almost impossible to race against. As you can see now, a McLaren that's phasing in and out. They head down towards the Mulsanne corner, but Snyman has to slot in behind, but Swartz into 3rd place now. Kevin Gimenez already on a bit of a push now, as you can see him in the background just behind Coetzee. There he is in the BMW just behind. So you can see if he's going to be able to get this done on the run to Indianapolis and Arnage. But Darren Lobb has made a break for it out front. Julian Familiaris kind of in by himself in P2. Then Swartz, Snyman, Coetzee and Gimenez, who's already on a push now, getting a nice slipstream as he heads towards Indianapolis. He's going to have to go with the outside line. Flashes his lights as he comes through side by side. Got a nice run neck and neck towards Indianapolis. Is he going to be able to get ahead as they come through this long sweeping right-hander? Sweeps around the outside and onto the brakes. You can see it now. Coetzee will fight it on the outside line. He's done this before. Contact that almost ends in tears between them, and towards they go. Still neck and neck between Coetzee and Gimenez. Coetzee has the inside line, but the run on the outside for Gimenez. Great racing between these two, banging doors on the way through Indianapolis and through Arnage, but eventually Gimenez gets the run on the outside line and he slots in front of Coetzee eventually. But now you can see Coetzee already getting a run towards the Porsche curves. He's going to be able to slip on the inside here. It's going to be very tricky. He's going to have no space to work with, has to back out of it. But really racy, 7 minutes into this 1 hour race, and the guys are banging doors.
Their teammates as well, they're certainly wearing the same livery. So if that's how they treat their teammates, I'm scared to think how they treat their opposition as well, because that was absolutely titanic battling there. Bad news for Gimenez, as they hasn't quite been able to break the drop. Remember, Gimenez losing out on pole position pretty much just due to a mistake. One mistake in the first sector of his qualifying lap, we believe. So he is arguably faster than Lobby. He's probably matching pace with Lob, and yet he's put himself with a lot of work to do already. Lob with another fast lap, 3:57. Jimenez losing about 6 seconds just from the slowdown, and now it's Snyman with the slowdown. That won't lose him as much time as we saw Jimenez lose, just because it's now on the second lap, and iRacing has a lap time to compare you to. And now it looks as though Snyman's going to lose a place. By Mitchell can't quite get past Mitchell, just dropping down the order, it seems. Started up in 4th position, remember. And despite Snyman picking up that slowdown, he remains ahead. Got Busi just behind as well, and also Fury as well. Gerber looking decently quick in 10th place.
So now we're going to see Kevin Snyman going to be really vulnerable here. Byron Mitchell, Dario Bussi, with Bussi already going for a move on Byron Mitchell on the inside line as they head towards the first Mulsanne chicane. He's on the inside, has to slightly just graze the barrier on the inside as they come now, but you can see Byron Mitchell has the slipstream from Kevin Snyman up ahead of him as well, so he might be able to just hold on here, and he is able to hold on as Byron Mitchell switches to the inside now versus Kevin Snyman. So 2 by 2 almost. You can see as well Coetzee trying to come back at Gimenez as well. Byron Mitchell neck and neck with Kevin Snyman on the way through, and Snyman somehow holds on around the outside line. And there was a fight as well up ahead between the BMWs, but that's the BMW and the Mercedes. But now we stick with this one as Johan Furey's got the run on the Merc up ahead of him. Very close between these two for the tail end of the top 10. He moves to the inside line of Dario Bussi. But you can see as soon as he moves out of the slipstream, he cannot get alongside because he's got the slipstream ahead, does Dario Bussi. Byron Mitchell to the inside of Kevin Snyman ahead as well into the second Mulsanne chicane. He slots in front of Snyman. Furey goes for a late lunge, but he can't quite make it work. Snyman gets it a bit wrong. Furey hangs it around the outside of the second Mulsanne chicane. 38 cars are certainly providing for some fantastic action so far, but a perfect example of the slipstream right there. As soon as Johan Furey pulled out, he just dropped back from Dario Bussi, who got the draft up ahead.
Yeah, and that can confuse defending often, because maybe you want to stay on the racing line and pick up the draft, or you can go defensive and on the inside, but then the driver on the outside might be able to get past you as Jimenez into the gravel. And it's time to wait a long time for the drivers to get past. There's a gap now to Vice of about 12 seconds. What's that? A gap to Vice? No, it's a gap to Engelbrecht. No, my time scale was just a little bit wrong there. But it was a 5-second gap that he could pull into. So this was once again with what I believe is his teammate. This was with Coetzee. And Coetzee just going down the inside. Oh, I don't know. Jimenez, maybe the Mercedes was already alongside him. But there's just lacking the avoidance. No, the slowdown, of course, was his fault. Arguable whether that one was his fault or not, and now it's just a case of recovering for Jimenez. We're not quite sure what the championship situation is. Judging by his Okayama performance, he may well be in the championship fight. And he's got some catching up to do now just to recover a few points for his total. He's down into 12th place now. Kari ahead of him, and he's going after Hendricks.
So they're now just past 10 minutes, 11 minutes into this 1 hour affair right here. Come through the Porsche curves for the 3rd time today. And you can see Sandro Beccari putting the pressure on Hendricks. Kevin Gibbon has now got to try a second recovery drive. He's on the back of Jonty Weiss in the background behind these guys. You can see right there, he's on the back of the Merc as they come through the Porsche curves. And already really hounding some pressure onto the back of him here in the slipstream. I don't know if he's going to be quite able to do it here, but he's going to definitely have a run on him down the Mulsanne if he just remains patient. Meanwhile, out front, Darren Lobb is lapping about a second faster than Julian Familiar. Swart setting good lap times in P3, matching the leader. So definitely Swart one to look out for as he tries to catch up to Julian Familiaris. We're looking at Johan Engelbrecht, who takes to the pit lane. And we heard in our ears from Samuel Kumar at the start that the fuel is limited to 60 litres of fuel. So we're not quite sure if that's going to be enough to get through an hour of racing. But now, two McCarthys, Stephen McCarthy and Sean McCarthy. The Sean McCarthy's in the blue Mercedes behind Stephen McCarthy. He's now on the back of Ryan Boot as they head towards turn number 2. Again, tries to get a run on the outside. And Knockadale has to hop the curbs on the inside. Not going to help him there on the exit. But the two McCarthys definitely had a solid fight last time out in Okayama. But now they have to fight once again, but they've got to get past Ryan Buda. Right up ahead of them. Now we're going to see Mercedes versus BMW power down the straight. In the slipstream, should be able to get past fairly easily as he heads now down towards the first Mulsanne chicane. Gimenez makes it past Jonty Weiss as they head down once again here in the slipstream. McCarthy on Buda. Is he able to slot in front? He moves to the inside and should be able to slot in front on the brakes with the overspeed as well in the Merc, and slots in front of Ryan Buda into the braking zone and gets it done, easily done. Looks like, I don't think it's internet this time, but it looks like Swart is out of this particular race. Whether he was taken out by the admins or is now officially disconnected, he is out of this race. And that's unfortunate, but he drops out of P3, which puts Coetzee into P3, Byron Mitchell P4. And that was the massive fight we were seeing earlier on for the tail end of the top 10. Those guys are now fighting for the podiums. But I think at the moment, barring any major errors, 15 minutes into this race, Darren Lobb is cruising out front.
Yeah, 5 seconds clear. Thanks to Sam Kumar in the operating the cams for letting us know about that fuel limit, 60 litres. So yeah, no such worries for the drivers to get to the end of the race. That should take them won't take them far beyond half an hour. Should only take them to half an hour. I think you'd have to pit at half distance in order to get to the end of the race. I think there's a whole lot of kind of margin for these drivers to come to pit. Now you wouldn't be able to get to the end, as here comes Coetzee and Mitchell battling against one another. Mitchell still just ahead of Coetzee. Rory 1.5 seconds behind. So too is Snyman and Busi. Busi, I think, they're not one of the fastest drivers on that last lap. Snyman was the slowest driver on that last lap, lost 9 seconds in comparison to some of these guys. Coetzee was the only man under the 4-minute barrier in this battle. By the way, Swart received through pit belts on unacceptable levels, so he lost connection to the server, unfortunately, which looks as though it was going to happen eventually. And some of his drivers will be quite pleased about that one, because he was glitching in and out absolutely constantly. We'll have to check out the internet, and hopefully we'll be back for the next season of the championship. We see all over the back now, but this is the one point of the race, one part of the lap that you
This is the battle for 5th, and just up the road is the battle for 3rd. So these guys are all essentially in the battle for the podium. So we've got a nice group of Mercs right here. Ideally what they want to do is they don't want to battle. They want to work their way back up to Byron Mitchell and Coetzee, as into the pits comes Byron Mitchell, actually, and as Darren Lobb says, the fast lap of the race out front, 3:57.4. But Byron Mitchell into the pit lane, I would assume that would be for fuel, as we're trying to work out the fuel limits here, but he's in early, 16 minutes into this race. But yeah, Darren Lobb currently about 3 seconds faster a lap than Familiaris. Everybody else still in the 4 minutes. Around here, they're battling pretty hard, actually, so that'll explain a lot of it. But Byron Mitchell dives out of the battle. So now Johan Furey, Kevin Snyman and Dario Busi are now going to try and close up to Coetzee in P3. as they make their way through the first part of the lap. And looking good so far for these guys. So nice that these guys are all still grouped together, very nice and close. So they're battling hard. Still, after nearly 20 minutes of this race gone, Kevin Gimenez back up to P9 now as a result of the pit stops and all that stuff. But Dario Bussi losing a lot of time on the way through down towards the Mulsanne. But you can see Fori defending now. Simon looking like he wants to have a little think about a move here. Moves to the outside of the first Mulsanne. Shouldn't be able to make that work there. He's pulling alongside though. Can he hang it around the outside? He goes late on the brakes. And now going to try and sweep around the outside. And that was textbook stuff. But now he's going to watch out because he's gone a little bit wide on the exit. And Johan Fori should be able to slipstream back past him. But even just that small little side-by-side action, Dario Bussi right back on them here.
Yeah, I wonder if Bussi is struggling with the straight line speed. Doesn't quite seem to be gaining, does he, down these straights? Maybe he got a bit of damage on that car. Fori back down the inside. It's all temporary at the moment. Coetzee as well, only 1.5 seconds ahead. I think they are thinking this drafting is perhaps just propelling them along. Slightly contact between the two of them. Oh, that's going to slow them down. And now that's really going to slow them down. Snyman round at the second chicane and gaining a lot of speed on him, and Fori was Bussi. And he perhaps just went for a gap that was always going to close. It was 3 wide for a moment between the lots of them. And that really is a shame for Snyman. Drops behind Jimenez and Vicari. And about 10 seconds behind Fori and Bussi, who can get back on with their battle. But yeah, not quite sure who was in the fault there.
Yeah, it just looked like he got a little bit sandwiched there, did Snyman. Nothing a lot he could do about it, but Bussi and Fori didn't exactly lose a lot of time. Bussi kind of kept his foot in it, spun Snyman round once he came across them, and they carry on. You can see Coetzee still a little ways up the way, and Len Gerber hanging in there, P6, not too far behind. He's going to be hoping that they keep going in their fights. Up ahead, he's just making ground. In the background there's the lights of Kevin Gimenez. As we look back now, Andrew Colberts coming through the Mulsanne corner, as he's now Charles Joubert right behind him in P20. This is the battle for 19th and 18th. Keegan Campos just got past them. He's just in 18th, right up ahead of them. Andrew Colbert now trying to fight off the advances of Charles Joubert. I think just a little ways up the road, Kyle Wiltshire battling with Ryan Buda as well. So plenty of battles happening throughout the field here, as we tick to 20 minutes gone in this 1 hour event. So plenty still to come, but Darren Lobb still absolutely miles out in front after the first 20 minutes. Julian Familiaris P2, then Coetzee, Fori and Bussi having their own battle for third place. Len Gerber, Kevin Gimenez, Sander Vicari, Kevin Snyman and Gabriel Hendricks P10 on track at the moment. 20 minutes going to take over, and still I think now Darren Lobb, you can see now 3:57.4, another fastest lap of the race, sets them in quick succession here, and I think he's coming up on the first lap traffic in this race. You can see the difference. Look, 3:57.4. As you can see, Jason Coetzee into the pit lane for his, we'd imagine, scheduled pit stop. The difference in lap time, 3:57.4 to a 3:59.9 for Familiaris. Lobb is just absolutely smashing in the lap times up front. No one can match him.
Yeah, he's in a different class at the moment. So consistent with those 3:57s at the moment is Lobb. He does seem to be on his way for this season finale win. Seems as though it's going to be a two-stop strategy then for these drivers. The drivers who are pitting now, if they are limited to 60% fuel, then they are not going to be able to get to the end from here. So they are going to have to do another stop. But like the margins are pretty tight. Surely you can get it to lap 8 and perhaps do two 8-lap stints and save yourself the bother of heading down the pit lane. It is quite a long pit lane around this circuit, as Colbert goes very wide, and well, that was rather generous there. Lets him past Joubert. Didn't want to come back onto the racing line and make contact, so he just back to a halt and waited his rival on by. That's 13th now is Colbert, but I'm surprised that there's so many drivers coming in already. You think you want to go as far as you could on fuel. Oh, as we got a car in the wall, it's Buda. It's Buda in the wall. Seemingly, it's going to be able to continue. but that is the corner that I said earlier on. Usually just understeer here, but it looks like he's oversteered as he dipped a wheel onto the grass, just dipping the outside wheel onto grass, and did well to avoid both walls there, and the cars behind did a good job to avoid him.
Bit of a scary moment for, I think that was one of the Dewberts. I think that was I just had a bit of a brown pants moment right there. We managed to keep it in check. So, but the first round of stops. So we've had Coetzee, Gimenez, Hendricks. All those guys have already pitted. As the somebody come up now puts up the pit counts. So Coetzee, Byron Mitchell, of course, pitted the first of everybody out of those guys. So Byron Mitchell, Coetzee, Gimenez, and Hendricks, who's making his way past Plitz right now, who has not stopped as they file their way through after their stops. So Gimenez in front of Hendricks as they battle now. So now we kind of get an idea of pit stops. These guys are going to try and get to the end, we would imagine, unless they're going to just push flat out and go for a two-stop. But Johan Furey into third. Barrett Bussy and them are still swapping places here. Jonty Weiss in front of Plitt right now. As you can see, the position swaps, Furey and Bussy really going at it for third place. Go back to those guys through Indianapolis. So that fighting, as we were just talking about, Bussy slots in front, but now Len Gerber right with them in the BMW Z4 right behind them. So these guys have got to, well, they've now got a 3-car fight for third place right now. We know now for certain that they're going to need to pit. So now, do they battle, or now is it the point of, do they try to out-strategize their opponent right now? 25 minutes, well, ticking towards 25 minutes of this 60-minute race. Coming to the Porsche curves for the 6th time. And still plenty of guys still yet to pit. Most of the field still yet to pit. Most of the top 20, I think, are, well, I say that, Darren Lobb straight in on cue from the race lead, and he should be comfortably able to hang on to that race lead, because I think Julian Familiaris also into the pit lane. So you can kind of get an idea of how long these guys can go on a tank of fuel. It's about 23, 24 minutes. So 7 laps on a single tank of fuel. Well, certainly going to be a 2-stop race then.
Yep. I think you need to go further than lap 8, don't you? Maybe if it was lap 8, you could afford to fuel save a bit of fuel and make the 1-stop work. But I think you'd have to go to lap 9 on one of the stints, and that would just be too far for these drivers. So everyone coming into the pits at the moment, because now that the drivers, it's a very comfortable 2-stop at the moment. And oh, that's really slow at the moment for McCarthy at the front of this. He's held up the others. That'll be a little bit annoying for them. Yeah, that was a couple of seconds lost. But of course, there's a big kind of a window that you can come in for each of these stops. So the drivers will put in varying amounts of fuel. So it will really mix up the order. Some drivers will go for a short first stop and then a longer second stop, and vice versa. So the order that you see on track after these pit stops are complete may not be totally reflective of what the actual positions are. Dan Loveday, he is in the lead, and that is a proper lead for him. 33.6 stationary, but for example, Johan Farey only 28.6 seconds stationary. So that's about 15 seconds variance that you can put in the tank, and I mean that you might have to pit a little bit earlier, might have to put a little bit later. And these drivers will decide that the most common strategy, of course, will just be to put the most even amount of fuel in on each stop, and then that will even out the stints, and ought to be the fastest way to the finish. Of course, they'll also keep the same tyres on the car for the entire race, as the tyres and fuel have to be taken separate in these GT3 cars. Familiaris, a comfortable 2nd place for him still, and Byron Mitchell moves back up into 3rd place then. So remember, Mitchell had a poor start but came in for that early pit stop on lap 4. Took a little bit less fuel than his rivals. In fact, a little bit less fuel, but not a whole lot less fuel than his rivals. And he's back up into 3rd place.
So Willem Pienaar, the only man to not stop. So he's extending the stint, by the looks of it, to get to the end of lap 7. So he's probably going to struggle to get to the get to the pit lane because it's pretty marginal on fuel with that. But yeah, Byron Mitchell early stop into P3. He only just came out in front of Johan Furi, who's right behind him. But Furi really gained in the pit stop. Look at the gap he's got over Dario Bussi right now. And Len Gerber still has the decent gap right there. So there's the lead. Darren Lobb has 14 seconds, almost 15 seconds on Julian Familiaris. And these guys nearly 8 seconds back from Julian Familiaris. You can just see him on the distance right there. And Johan Furi, you can see exactly where he is. He's right behind Byron Mitchell. Then Dario Bussi right behind. Len Gerber in P6. And then you've got Kevin Gimenez and Sandro Beccari together. So they're all still pretty close together. Gimenez, of course, trying to recover something from the spin he had, or contact that he had earlier on. So nearly half an hour gone by in this race. Darren Lobb is a country mile ahead of everybody else at the moment. There is the train in the background between Kevin Gimenez, Sandro Beccari and Coetzee. Now remember, Coetzee and Gimenez had contact in the Mulsanne corner earlier, and looks like Coetzee now has fallen back behind Gimenez, which is not ideal. He took an earlier stop, but I think he managed to jump him in the stops. Hendricks behind as well. Snyman trying to recover in the background as well. But those guys are not going to be on the best of terms. Here's Jonty Weiss on Kevin Snyman as they head towards Indianapolis. He'll have the inside line for this corner. Does he get it done? Snyman will have the outside, which is nearly preferred as he hangs it around the outside, side by side. Just about slots in front of him as they head towards Arnage. Gets it done eventually. So Snyman holds on to 11th place, but everybody, even after this long Ryan Buda now contact, but manages to somehow come out alive. I'm not sure how that worked with almost being sideways there, but somehow managed to keep it in a straight line, and Peter van der Spuy manages to slot in front right now. After all that unusual incident there, Plit in front, Van der Spuy in front, and now you can see him trying to come back at him into Mulsanne corner. Not going to work out through there. It's going to almost be contact as he comes through, but not having the best day, spinning in sector 1 and now falling back to 30th out of 38 cars, 35 cars running at this point in time. But just interesting enough, Familiaris a little quicker than Darren Lobb that time on the outlap. You got to keep in mind that is the outlap, but he's a tiny bit quicker than our leader at the moment. But Byron Mitchell now going to try and he's definitely going to have to try and fuel save or something to hold himself on to third place. Kevin Gimenez 359.3 and P7 on his outlap, of course. It's Leonardo Beccari further down, right in this middle of this big old train going on between Van der Spuy, Buda, and himself. As we tick to 30 minutes gone, so halfway through this race here in Le Mans. And the action's been pretty relentless, actually. The field is still very close together after all of this, as Len Gerber goes for the move into the first sector. Well, just after the first sector. Not an ideal place to go for the move, though, because now look at Kevin Gimenez absolutely flying with the run. Where does he go? He's going to make it 3 wide, double overtake on the inside. No, there's going to be contact there. And the round he goes, a huge accident on the Mulsanne straight. That was never going to be on. 3 cars now taking out, maybe a 4th here. Oh, that's going to be a 4th car involved. Oh, it's a huge one. It's a massive one. Oh my lord. As one of the Z4s goes hugely into the air. And I think that was all caused by Kevin Gimenez, a little bit unnecessary to go for the move so early on. But Gerber is out. Kevin Gimenez, damage on the car. Absolutely humongous accident right there. Sandro Beccari is also out, but unnecessary. Let's have a look at it again.
Yeah, are we wide? Probably not wide. That's why you shouldn't go for that one. Maybe the move was on, but you are kind of off the circuit at that point. Remember, you have the white line. You shouldn't really be going onto the apron or whatever they call it on the side. And there was a bit bumpy as well, so you can control your car. And yeah, I think Gimenez is going to have to take responsibility for that one. Safe to say you wouldn't try that in the real world, would you? Because that would be a bit dangerous in that circumstance. And it's just a shame that there was a couple of others who got caught up in it. But yeah, Bussi, Gerber, and Beccari involved in that one. And that whittles down our top 10 slightly. Hendricks, I think, the front of the drivers who got through that in 6th place. Jimenez just recovering that car back to the pits now, but it's a long way for him to go. Tosa Pina now up into the top 10. Yeah, Jimenez just not quite the most mature performance today from him, has it? He cut the chicane on the opening lap when he knew that a slowdown is so costly. You need to leave a bit more margin for error on the opening lap, and he picked up that slowdown. Then he had the spin, which was questionable whether or not he could have done anything about it. But then that last one certainly was his fault, and that's derailed this race from him. I don't believe he'll be able to get to the end of the race from here. He'd have to do an 8-lap stint, so might not lose him as much time as it could do if he can get to the end of the race from this point, but he would have to use some fuel cell.
Yeah, just looking at it, kind of hearing now, obviously the fuel limit was 60 litres, but apparently they can put in as much fuel as they like in the pit stops, so they should be okay to the end for these guys. Now, it obviously depends on if they've fueled it up to the brim or some others are going more aggressive, but I would imagine that everybody's put enough fuel in to go to the end, so don't think we're going to see any more pit stops as Kyle Wiltshire goes very wide, almost collecting the tyre bale right there. But I was interested. I was kind of laughing at that replay with the huge accident because Coetzee, currently in P5, that accident happening in front of him, he did not lift at all. He kept flat through it and somehow came out in one piece. So definitely the racing gods on his side today. So let's see if we can see it again. This is the move again. This is on board now with Jason Coetzee. Watch this as he heads towards this accident. You can see smoke pouring in the background. Does he lift? Absolutely not. Moves to the right. All calmly. Yeah, just zigzag my way through here. Perfect job, Jason Coetzee.
I don't want to be on the same race circuit as Coetzee, to be honest, because if I spun, then I'd be risking a huge incident. Yeah, that was no braking whatsoever. I mean, sociopathic right there. But so he got through it. To be fair, maybe if he'd lifted, maybe he would have crashed. Because I think that's what the driver ahead of him did. Found all sorts of issues, but Coetzee straight through it. And now it's Hendricks just behind Snyman, Weiss, Herholt, Pina, and then this battle, Engelbrecht and Teens battling one another. Pina, by the way, up 19 places, just about to started down in 29th place, up into the top 10 though. However, Jimenez now back into the pits at the moment. Yeah, well, he'll be able to get to the end of the race, and all these drivers will be able to get to the end of the race. In fact, as well as they start with 60 litres, they're able to get to the end of the event, and no more pit stops for these drivers to complete. As Teens is going to be lining this battle up. A few drivers got penalties, by the way, in their first pit stop. So Stephen McCarthy, you remember him, was running much higher than this earlier on in the event. Unfortunately, he had to take a stop and hold penalty. It seems maybe spared on pit entry or maybe cut the pit entry line, and so he was very slow during his pit stop. Also, Ryan Buda as well. He had that spin earlier on, but he should be much further up. He lost about 30 seconds in his pit stop. And also Bakari as well, who I think has got involved in another incident. But his first pit stop was also very long, so that's part of the reason why a few drivers have dropped down. So if you're following any drivers, that might be why they're a bit further down than where they were. Variate with a very poor start, poor exit from the corner, drops off Joubert, and Stephen McCarthy might be able to take back one of these places. Variate also with Variate had a decent pit stop. It was the two McCarthys he had a long pit stop. Maybe the two McCarthys just filled up the tank completely to the brim. I don't know, maybe that was their strategy as a team, or maybe they both messed up the pit entry. We did see them very slow on the pit entry, didn't we? So I don't know why they both managed to mess up on that one.
I wonder indeed mysteries today on the stream. Still haven't figured out what that hole in the Ferrari is for. And
I think some people were saying how it could be a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, very well could be, but we'll have to get a detailed graph from Ferrari to wonder what what that was, and we're not getting into Maranello, but
Spygate.
Spygate Part 2 here in Apex Racing TV. But here back with Davy Joubert, as he has got Willem Botha now about to overtake him on the outside in the Audi R8. Got the overspeed on the outside line into the curve. Now he'll have the outside line for Indianapolis, which is more preferred. Here we go. Is he going to be able to sweep around the outside? He'll have the inside then as they come through, and does slot in front of the Beamer as they head through Arnage and textbook stuff. But yeah, around the outside for Willem Botha. Easily done for him. Meanwhile, Darren Lobb still lapping about close to 3 seconds a lap faster than Julian Familiaris. Relentless pace at the moment from him. He's the only man still under the 4-minute mark in the lap times, which is, we're close up on 40 minutes gone in this race, and keep having that consistent pace. I mean, it's world class.
Yeah, he's not won too many races in the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. That's in the GTE cars, of course. He did drive a very good race at Montreal. I think used some good strategy to his advantage and held on very well. Very immensely tough driver, certainly on that day when he was under a lot of pressure by maybe Craig Edwards, not quite sure, but one of the top drivers from Aussie Mixed and Fixed. And Lobb managed to hold on firm and ended up winning the race. So he is good in pressure moments in Lobb. In fact, I'm not sure if we've seen quite as much of him this season in the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. But yeah, just shows his quality out here today. He's been able to drive away from the rest of the order, now 20 seconds clear of the rest of the field. And really nothing in his way, unless a backmarker perhaps gets in his way, as we're currently seeing right here. Should be able to slipstream his way past.
Yeah, so we see this McLaren. This is McLaren P32, I think this is, that we're looking at up ahead of him. He's going to get the slipstream and should be able to get past without too much trouble, and moves to the inside line and should be able to get ahead as they come into the Mulsanne corner. The McLaren brakes early, lets him through, and easily done for Darren Lobb. Now, that's what's going to be his entertainment for the next 20 minutes of this race, is seeing if he can catch the next lap car, which is something if you ever manage to get out into the lead of a race and you're so far ahead, which is a lovely experience, just aim for the lapped cars and see how many you can catch. Jonty Weiss on a great drive at the moment into P7. He started a long way down the grid, but he's up to inside the top 10, gets in front of Gabriel Hendricks, and he now chases after Kevin Snyman as they head down the second part of the Mulsanne straight. And looks like there's been a problem for Willem Botha, and he is off in the second chicane at the Mulsanne. Looks like he might have just spun it himself.
Yeah, way too much speed there. And off into the gravel, but was quite fortunate that he wasn't in a more inconvenient place. And good to get on the brakes as well. Don't usually, you're not supposed to join the circuit when there are oncoming cars, but we have seen it plenty of times on Apex Racing TV. Sometimes that's not regarded. I was taking part in a Williams FW31 race the other day, and someone absolutely got sent to space with a terrible rejoin at Sonoma. That one was pretty bad, but no, good patience there from Botha. Jimenez, of course, after that pit stop, back up into 18th place. That's how fast he is, Jimenez, so he can make up that amount of time, and he would certainly be on the podium in the top 3 right now if it weren't for all of his issues so far today. Even without that last crash, despite the spin and the slowdown, he'd still be fighting for a top 3 finish. How far behind is he from the cars ahead? So he's got Charles Joubert and Andrew Thomas ahead of him within 3 seconds, so that should be pretty simple for Jimenez. The challenge is going to be to get to Dowry Jabeur, who is he's 11 seconds ahead. Might be a little bit more tricky, but Jimenez might be able then to get back up to 15th place, and then hope that there's a couple of issues for the cars ahead as well, which might promote him even further.
Currently, Byron Mitchell lapping about a second quicker than Julian Familiaris in P2. So it could be interesting coming towards the end of this race. As there is Julian Familiaris kind of on his own there in P2. He's about 20 seconds, over 20 seconds behind Darren Lobb in the lead. And Byron Mitchell not too far behind in P3. As now Kyle Wiltshire is out back in the pit lane. Front end damage on that car. So I wonder if we can see what happened here. He's on, I think that's sector 3 he's in. But not going to quite see what happened to Kyle Wiltshire, but he's out of this race anyway.
Yeah, here he goes. Maybe he already got a bit of damage. And into Indianapolis. Has he just dipped away onto the gravel? Yes, he has. New tire model. Thank you very much. And yeah, into the wall. These drivers do get some faster repairs, do they? They just get the one. They get 3 fast repairs to these drivers, so we should be able to use one and get back out onto circuit. At least to take the check line. Sure, these drivers would like to cross the line to finish off the season. And as Hendricks ahead of Weiss. Is that a move that has just occurred? No, I think he's actually dropping back into Weiss at the moment. On that last lap, he was 7/10 of a second slower. The start of this lap, 6/10 of a second slower through the first sector. But does open up a little bit further through the second sector, and then loses a bit through the third sector as well. So Hendricks seemingly not with the momentum at the moment. These guys only 4.5 seconds off Coetzee in 5th place. All those drivers in the top 10 so evenly matched from about 4th place down to 9th. All really evenly matched drivers out there on circuit. Pina catching up to Campos. He's got Robbie Teams just ahead as well.
Yeah, we can actually Robbie Teams has just overtaken Keegan Campos for P10. So Keegan Campos doing well. Pina has not stopped yet. Is he just going to go to the end here in this case? Because he's gone. I wondered. He must have got. He has to have got more than 60 litres of fuel in that car. Otherwise, he's going to have to stop very, very late into this race. But he's the only car not to have stopped yet. Is Willem Pienaar in P12. But Robbie Tings battling here with Keegan Campos. Both of these guys on a good drive here. Here comes Keegan Campos in a good slipstream, but into the Mulsanne corner. He's not quite close enough. Has to stay behind for now. But Keegan Campos, it's a bit wide there from Robbie Tings, and now straight alongside comes Keegan Campos, but gets the door shut on him immediately. But he will have a good run towards Indianapolis here. Might be able to get a move on right here. Pulls alongside the Mercedes, but the Mercedes already has the outside line for Indianapolis, which is much preferred. But he needs to try and keep himself there on the inside to Keegan Campos. Here we go. As they come towards Indianapolis, he's got a good line here, does Keegan Campos, but now, and he does carry the speed into Indianapolis and slots back into P10. And Jonty Weiss back in front of Gabriel Hendricks as well in P7. Probably a similar move occurred right there. They're going to go side by side through the Porsche curves. Hendricks around the outside is going to be very tight, and he does slot in front. So these guys are really having a ding-dong battle here for P7. And they're a little ways off Kevin Snyman in P6 up ahead of them. But actually, they're not too far behind, actually, these guys. There's Kevin Snyman with Coetzee right there. So Snyman's catching Coetzee for P5. And Fourie, how far ahead is he? He's got a good bit up the road as Johan Fourie as they come through. Oh, Botha, another spin in Indianapolis. Rear wing is damaged. And it looks like he's gone backwards into the barrier there, I would imagine, as they gets back going again with the rear wing. Certainly seeing better days on that Audi as he gets back on. 45 minutes gone in this race, so 15 minutes. We'll just take it to 14 minutes remaining. And we see Andrew Thomas here in the yellow Ferrari. That's McCarthy now behind, trying to get a run on him towards the Porsche curves, but he's not quite able to pull alongside Mike Verrier, not too far behind there in the BMW. As Pienaar finally pits on lap 12 right here in Le Mans, and he's just going to get enough fuel to go to the end. But Darren Lobb is having no problems whatsoever. He almost has the entire second part of the Mulsanne straight between himself and Julian Familiaris in P2. As we continue to watch this battle here between Thomas and McCarthy. Piling through here, and Pienaar, there he is in the pit lane, taking his first and only stop in this one, and he's going to emerge, I think, just in front of these guys. Just in front of Dewbird. I think he should be able to emerge in front of these guys. He gets out in front of these guys. He's got clean air in front of him. It's going to be very tight now. He's just coming out behind these guys. He's going to have to fight his way back through these guys here. Just comes out behind Sean McCarthy. He's got a bit of work to do now to get in front of all of these guys. But certainly now, Andrew Thomas under pressure again from McCarthy as he comes through. But he should be able to get him easily down the Mulsanne because he's almost he's quicker through every single corner here, Stephen McCarthy, but he's not quite able to get a run on him. But now he's got a decent run coming down the Mulsanne, and it should be easily said and done for him. Slipstream effect going to be very, very useful for him here. It's a Mercedes versus Ferrari power, and an F1, we know how that ends. So here we go, Mercedes to the outside line, carries a lot of speed, and should be able to slot in front. I think he's actually already car length in front, and he is. So Merc power superior down straights compared to the Ferrari. Ferrari's coming back at him though with a little bit of slipstream, but not quite able to pull alongside. So the GT power of the Mercedes engine definitely overpowering the Ferrari, just as it does in Formula 1.
Yes. Forza Ferrari, they will rise again. Pienaar, by the way, started from the pits, so I'm not sure if he was trying some Schumacher Silverstone 98 tactics, where he's like, well, I have come into the pits actually for my stop go right at the end of the race. He got away with it on that time. Pienaar started from the pits, so I wonder if he was maybe allowed to put some extra fuel in it. Maybe that they were limited to 60 litres and then he put some fuel in at start. Basically, there was no way that he could have got that far with 60 litres, so he must have had some more. Maybe he got a whisper in his ear from the steward saying, I would like you to pit, please, because there is a mandatory pit stop, maybe that is in the rules. Or maybe it's just implied by the 60 litres. As moving back ahead again is McCarthy after losing that to Thomas. He's pretty feisty at the moment, but Thomas will have to back out a bit. As now Thomas has got a slowdown, if anything, he certainly is based. So there, yeah, moves past, and McCarthy, Sean of the Sean variety, will get past, and here comes Willem Pienaar as well to make up one of those places. Pienaar will back himself to gain those 4 cars right in front of him in the remaining stage. Still got 10.5 more minutes to go. Pienaar just drafts to the inside, just compromises his line. I'll have to probably wait until the first Mulsanne chicane in order to get past for the next time. Hendricks still ahead of Weiss, and with all their battling, they've invited Herholdt to the party on that last lap. Hendricks did a 4-minute 4.1, Weiss half a second faster, and Herholdt with a 4-minute 2.5, so 1.5 seconds faster than Gabriel Hendricks on that last tour. So he's catching up big time at the moment, and this will be tight battle down the Mulsanne straight. Potentially the third in line might be able to slipstream his way past the other two. They've got a big gap as well to Campos behind, 19 seconds, so they can afford to battle a little bit and not be under too much pressure. By the way, Keegan Campos faster than all of these guys, 4-minute 1.5. That's only slightly slower than Byron Mitchell in second place. So I don't know what happened to Campos at the start. He started in 27th place. If it weren't for that, he could have well been in this fight for P4 near the end of the race.
Here comes Jonty Weiss once again. They're still swapping places here, Hendricks and Weiss. Drafting past once again goes Jonty Weiss on the outside line. See if he's going to be able to outbrake Hendricks. I don't think he's going to be able to, because Hendricks very late on the brakes and gets it turned in for the first Mulsanne chicane. On the exit now, watch out for Herholdt in the background. He's just watching as these two guys fight it out, as up front as well, Simon and Coetzee are also doing the exact same thing as Hendricks and Weiss and swapping places constantly down the straight with the slipstream. Here comes Herholdt now. He's got a great run in the BMW on Jonty Weiss. Here we go. to the inside line. He's also going to get the slipstream of Hendricks ahead and might be able to get it stopped. Can he go for a double overtake? They're going to go nearly 3 abreast here. Herhold going for a double overtake on the inside line, side by side. Only able to get one. Oh, contact and around. Go Herzold actually gets pushed around back in front as well, and Jonty Weiss, and they carry on as normal. So you get the double hit to spin him around, and then a hit in the front to get him pointed back in the right direction. But now you can see the fight for 5th here. Kevin Snyman in front of Coetzee, and these guys are fighting so hard that it's always going to be nearly a 4 or 5 car fight for P5.
Yeah, there seem to be some contact between the two of them. Down the inside goes to the 77. That was very good from him. I think it was Coetzee who was spun round at the second Mulsanne chicane. Oh, now he's moving across. Well, this is a bit naughty now, right there, with that kind of over defending. Problem is, you can't really defend. The track's too wide. At least if you're waiting to go off the circuit, it's almost impossible to fend off. And this one getting a bit personal. I think there was some contact at the second Mulsanne chicane, and now the gloves are definitely off. Back down the inside though goes Jason Coetzee. Hit back again. Contacts from the two of them. Netcode contacts. I'm not sure which servers they're using, but you can imagine based in South Africa, they're pretty much far away from all the available servers. And it's Coetzee who is who spins round, and that will be the end of his competitive race. This was the original contact from the pair then. So Coetzee on the inside.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know if that's either their fault, to be honest. Maybe Coetzee seems to be as far on the inside as possible. Maybe he understeered a bit, but I don't think there can be a whole lot of complaints, to be honest, from Snyman. And yet, afterwards, they seem to be absolutely livid with one another. I don't know why there was quite the anger from the pair.
It was funny watching the spin. The spin was perfectly synchronized as well in between Coetzee and Snyman, but Coetzee falls back down to 9th place as 53 minutes gone in this race. Not long to go now. Still Daniel Lobb out front at the moment in P1, Julian Familiaris P2 and Byron Mitchell P3. That's their top 3 as we still keep with this battle. Hendricks now looks like he's got a slowdown. Jonty Weiss as well. Now still in the clutches of Herhold, but Coetzee's still not out of this. He's not far off the back of them still, even after that spin in Indianapolis or Netcode between himself and Snyman. But Snyman getting caught now by Hendricks and all this gaggle of cars right here. So we'll see now as they come to the line. I think the next lap should be the final lap here in Le Mans. As 54 minutes gone, it's a 4-minute lap around here. So lap 15 will be the final lap of this one. As we tick to the end of the championship as well. No idea what's going on in that, but I hope that that nothing was too untoward. David Joubert, and there is Kevin Gimenez behind him. The only other man is lapping in the 3 minutes at the moment in P14. What could have been had he not been involved in all those incidents? He's matching the pace of Darren Lobb out front right now. He's the only man who's able to match him, but he's all the way down in 14th place, which is not ideal. Davy Joubert hanging on there in P13, and Gimenez should be able to slipstream past him pretty easily. 5 minutes left on the clock when we come across the line next time. It will be the final lap, and Darren Lobb has had not a single problem out front so far. He's nearly 30 seconds in front of the next car, and it's pretty much been an exhibition drive today.
Yeah, easy day in the office for Dan Lobb. He was pushed on that open lap, wasn't he? You know, he was under pressure, nearly got overtaken by Jimenez and Familiaris, but since then, I have to say it's been very easy for him. Jimenez in the rev limiter, nowhere else to go. It almost sounds as though he's lifting off, but there's absolutely nothing left there, and that does make overtaking a lot more tricky. If anyone remembers the old F1 days in the V8s when they would max out in 7th gear, and you would maybe be a lot faster, but then you get halfway down the straight in the toe and with the DRS and have absolutely nowhere to go. That's still an issue, but it is still an issue in these cars. I don't think you can actually change the gearing, at least on some of the GT3s. On the Ferrari, because it's a bit more up to date, I think you can change the gearing ratios. However, it's not to a particularly precise degree. You can basically just say, I'll have short gearing or long gearing, or even certain gearing for different championships. So you're pretty much stuck with what you've got in that BMW. So not a whole lot of way around it. Lob approaching the finish line at the moment, and he will have one more lap to complete. Won't quite edge out another lap, another half a minute earlier, and he may have been able to make it. He's set pretty much every lap time in the 3 minutes. So hopefully he keeps up that consistency. Barely, I don't think he's picked up a slowdown all day long either, which is very impressive to see. Will be an easy win for him. Familiar is 8 seconds clear of Mitchell. Credit to Byron Mitchell after that troublesome start. Drops to the outskirts of the top 10. But then an early pit stop was certainly the wise thing for him. And it got him the undercut on the others, and he's just been able to build the gap ever since their Familiar has dull drive in second place. But he's been able to put in the laps. Kind of Fourie, I guess, best of the rest. Fourie, of course, was kind of right in the midst of that big battle, wasn't he, earlier on? But he's well clear at the moment, 4th place and 18 seconds clear of that Snyman, Hendricks, Weiss, Holtz, and Kotze battle.
Exactly. So approaching the end of the race right now. 57, well, close to 58 minutes. We look now at Johan Fourie in P4. Kevin Snyman P5, Hendricks, Weiss, Herholt, Kotze, and Campos are your top 10. And Fourie's kind of really on his own here. He's got a big gap to P3. This is now Herholt up the inside of Jonty Weiss. This is the final lap, so they need to get their moves done now. Herholt gets it done for P7. And I think Hendricks is not too far off the road from him. Let's see if he's able to catch up to him. There he is, the orange Mercedes. Got a little bit. It might be a little bit too much to ask in the final lap. You can see Weiss coming back at him already up the inside, heading onto the Mulsanne. And slots in front for now, but Herholt's going to come back straight away as they head down the Mulsanne straight. And here we go onto the outside line. Herholt will have the run on the outside. He should be able to slot back in front with the car length, with Weiss going to come straight back at him now in the slipstream. It's a perfect example of the slipstream effect here. Also, late move from Herholt across to cover the inside. Aggressive, but it worked because it broke the slipstream. Now Weiss late on the brakes on the outside line, not able to do it, but they're on the final lap. It's no holds barred now. Oh, contact on the exit there as they came through, and really going at it right now. Now he manages to slot in front, and you can see now these guys really having to fight out. Herholt has now built a small gap as a result of that. Weiss has to hang back for just a moment's time. He's got another run down toward the Mulsanne corner. But really going at it in this final phase of the race. 10 seconds left on the clock, which should mean that Lob is pretty close to the end of the race. He's coming up to the Porsche curves right now. Time is going to tick to 1 hour. And Checker Flag is going to come out on this lap. But Darren Lob, absolutely pitch perfect all day. Let's see if he keeps up that rhythm of solid sub 4 minute laps for the past hour, which is incredibly impressive. Let's see if he can keep that up, because the speed looks really nice through the Porsche curves. Here we go to the last couple of corners. Darren Lob lights the flag in Le Mans is not easy, but he's it's over an hour past at this stage. Comes through the last chicane, in through the Ford chicane. Pitch perfect. Absolutely demolished the field across the line. Darren Lob wins in Le Mans here at WP Sports and GT and crosses the line to win by a margin of nearly 30 seconds, and he keeps that rhythm, 3:59.4 on the final lap. So absolutely brilliant job from Darren Lob. He's going to possibly try and do some donuts on the straight. Not easy in these cars, but he's trying to at least going to do some fishtails. Actually, should be a good substitute with the he gets under the gravel to do it. So nice job from Darren. Julian Familiaris now going to cross the line in a couple of seconds time. Just secure second place in this race. Good job from Julian. And then Byron Mitchell will be third in the field. He's not too far off. He went for the early pit stop and it paid off for him. There he is, Byron Mitchell, P3. And then we wait for the rest of the field to cross the line. We're going to wait and see because, Chase Herhold gets it wrong as they enter the Porsche Curse. He was holding on to P7, but he loses it in the final couple of corners. So these guys are going to cross the line after an hour. They're still very close together. Johan Furey, P4, Kevin Snyman in P5. And then Gabriel Hendricks going to hold on for 6th. And then Jonty Weiss, P7, and Chase Herhold in P8. And then we'll have Kutsi and then Campos in P10. So fantastic job from all the guys to get them all across the line. Still waiting for Keegan Campos, Robbie Tings, and Kevin Gimenez going to finish in 12th. But still battles going on because there's such a large spread in the field. There's lots of guys still yet to finish their laps here. Stephen McCarthy behind Mike Verrier up towards the Porsche curves, fighting for 17th, but that doesn't mean that the battling will be any less intense as they come to the line. Verrier trying to hang Stephen McCarthy behind for now, managing to do so through the Porsche curves. Gets a good run, McCarthy on the exit, but has to back out of it. And that should be Verrier secure in that one, unless he has a terrible last couple of corners here. So David Joubert crosses the line, then the other Joubert, Charles Joubert. Then now we're going to have these guys, Sean McCarthy up ahead, then Mike Verrier. He should be able to hold on in these last chicanes here versus Stephen McCarthy. And Andrew Thomas behind in the number 31 Ferrari crosses the line, and he will finish in 19th place as he crawled across the line. And then Willem Pinar in P20. Andrew Culbert then will be 21st, still battling hard here with Ryan Buda. As they come to the line here, always nice to see these guys battling hard to the line, even if it is for the lowly positions. Culbert just has to park the bus here because there's not really a whole lot that Buda can do here. Now into the last chicane, he's trying everything, but it's not going to be enough. So Culbert hangs on for 21st, 22nd for Ryan Buda. And then we wait for the last couple of cars to cross the line as we finish out this event at WP Sports in GT. And here we go. This is the Elroy Weiss versus Sandro Beccari, who was caught up in that huge accident on the Mulsanne. He crossed the line 24th. And then Botha, who we saw in the wall once or twice, he's going to be 25th. And then we just wait for 3 more cars after that, 26th, 27th, and 28th, to round out this final round at Le Mans. So there goes Botha at full pace, full tilts. Peter van der Spee in P26, crawling through the last couple of corners, and he will finish 26th. Then we wait for Plitz, Steenkamp, and I think Leonardo Beccari has also already crossed the line. So we're waiting for 2 more cars. Van der Spee, then Plitz, and then one final car, Andre Steenkamp, I think we're waiting for in the 28th spot there. But an hour-long race, but the action certainly didn't stop, Sam.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. The order showing that we didn't see the entire season, to be honest. We only got a glimpse at the last couple of rounds, but hopefully we see it back on Apex Racing TV in the future, and hopefully these guys get back out on circuit as well. I'm sure they'll be itching to get back going. Steenkamp running out of fuel across the line. Well, I was about to say that's the perfect amount of fuel to get to the end. It's not. You can't want to be going full pace and then have that after the checkered flag, but still gets to the end on the lead lap in 28th position. We don't know who the championship winner is, but at least for this race, Danilov, the dominant driver, and congratulations to him.
Exactly. I'm just having a quick look in our quick chat, and we're getting slated for the pronunciation of the surnames. We're not South African. They're incredibly difficult.
I think we did a great job. I'm not gonna lie. That's some of the best pronunciation I've done ever.
So yeah, that's all from us. But here's the quick rundown of the results. Darren Lobb, absolutely no problems out front, 33.4 seconds clear. Julian Familiaris, Byron Mitchell P3, and then Johan Furey Kevin Sneyman, we're being told it's Sneyman, not Snyman. How obvious is that? Gabriel Hendricks, P6, Jonty Weiss, Chase Herhold, Jason Coetzee, and Keegan Campos are your top 10 Robbie Tings. Kevin Gimenez down in P12. He should have been a lot further up, but of course involved in a lot of incidents. Johan Engelbrecht, Charles Joubert, Sean McCarthy, Mike Verrier, Stephen McCarthy, Andrew Thomas in P18. 28 cars classified at the finish, but a long way off the leaders. You can see the gaps now after 1 hour. Willem Pinar, David Joubert, Andrew Colbert, Ryan Buda, Elroy Weiss, Sandro Beccari, Peter Spey, Van der Spey, that should be, Colin Plitt, Andre Steenkamp, and Willem Botha in 28th. 4 minutes 49. We had a couple of DNS, of course, Leonardo Beccari, Cyril Ginsberg, Skois Joubert, Kyle Wiltshire, Dario Bussi, Len Gerber, Ryan Van Eden, Jury Swart, Eugene Minuk, Peter Joubert. Down 12 laps down to all these guys, non-finishers in this race. But hopefully these guys will be back on Apex Racing TV so we can eventually get the pronunciations right eventually. We're sorry. But WP Sports in GT, it's been fantastic. That was the final round at Le Mans. My name's been Jack Canan, Thomas Patrick alongside me, Samuel Kuma running the cameras in the background as always. We hope that we'll be back in the future with a new season of WP Sports in GT. It's been fantastic having them in the final 2 rounds of their championship, and hopefully we'll be back soon with another round. But that's all from us on Apex Racing TV. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with all the action, and we'll see you at some point in the future. Thank you and good evening.